I've been watching a lot of YouTubers lately. I think they're called boat tubers. These are YouTube channels where folks mostly live on a boat and have a YouTube channel about living on a boat. Sometimes they don't live on it. I guess they go out to it every once in a while. But most of the guys I've been watching, and some of them are married couples and some of them are ladies, are permanent boat dwelling people. They live on their boat and they have their channel. It's kind of exploded as a little bit of a genre in YouTube, I guess. And specifically, the folks I've really been focusing in on or zeroing in on and paying a lot of attention to their channels are people who live on narrowboats. It's called a narrowboat, and it's a type of boat that's found on the inland waterway system of the United Kingdom. So the canal system. And the canals in England go back a couple hundred years. It was in the 1700s that most of these canals were dug. Late 1700s, mid 1700s into the late 1700s, and then some of the first half of the 1800s. So these canals are 200, nearly 300 years old. A lot of them fell out of use and then were restored in the past 30 years or so. But there's something like 3,000 or 4,000 miles of canal system, inland waterways in the United Kingdom where these people ply their narrowboats. And a narrowboat is a long, slender boat that was originally, it would have been pulled by a team of horses or mules on a path, a walking path along the side of the canal that's called a tow path. And the path is still there, but people just walk up and down it because now the boats, the horses were originally replaced by steam engines on the boats and then now by diesel. So most people have a diesel engine on their boats. They're slowly starting to see the advent of purely electric boats as well out there. But it's a very attractive lifestyle because the scenery and the landscape that a lot of these canals go through is just idyllic, gorgeous, beautiful English countryside. Picture the Shire in The Lord of the Rings, the land that the hobbits lived in. It was an idyllic, peaceful, anarchic, capitalistic society, and it's just gorgeous, and that's what so much of this looks like. And of course the canals also go through the cities. Manchester, Birmingham, London, Liverpool, all these major industrial cities are served by the canals because that's how goods and services used to make its way across all of England. But now it's essentially just tens and tens of thousands of people living on these narrowboats as a leisure craft or as a home. And what used to be cargo craft are now essentially it's a floating mobile home. It's got a kitchen or a galley. It's got a bedroom or two bedrooms. It's got a bathroom or a head, including a shower and a toilet, a dinette or a place to eat, a dining room. And most of them have what here in America we would call a living room, which they call a saloon. It's a very attractive lifestyle. You can buy a narrowboat these days anywhere between $30,000 and $60,000 really gets you set up pretty well. And if you want to spend $70,000, $80,000, $90,000, by all means, they'll build you one. So it's neat. These channels are pretty neat and the folks are pretty nice. It's a very attractive lifestyle, but I want to give you the 5 reasons that I am not going to buy a narrowboat and move onto the canal system, the inland waterway, the domain of the Canals and River Trust in the United Kingdom. So here's my top 5 reasons why I will not be moving onto and living in a narrowboat. First of all, there's the limited space. Narrowboats are, well, they're narrow. They're 7 feet wide maximum. They can be 50 or 65 feet long, but I love my space, and the idea of squeezing my life into a tiny, elongated home with minimal room for furniture, storage, or even stretching out, feels claustrophobic. I'd miss having a proper sofa or a big kitchen to cook in. Number 2 reason. It's the constant maintenance and upkeep. Living on a boat means dealing with damp, rust, and engine issues, stuff I'm not exactly thrilled to spend my weekends fixing. Between painting the hull, managing the water tank, keeping the wood stove going, it sounds more like a full-time job than a relaxing lifestyle. Number 3. The United Kingdom's unpredictable weather. The UK isn't famous for its sunshine. I can't imagine being stuck on a canal in the pouring rain or freezing winter, trying to stay warm and dry while the wind rocks the boat. I'd rather watch the rain from a cozy house than live through it on the water. Number 4 is the lack of conveniences that we've just all become accustomed to. I've got fast Wi-Fi here in the house. On a narrowboat, I would be forced to get used to essentially cellular service. Water comes out of the tap. I don't have to haul my own water or fill my own water every week or so into a tank on my boat. I flush the toilets, it's gone. On a boat, you have to collect your waste on a boat and then dump it out every day, every couple days, every 3 days. If you've got a pump out boat, it can be a little bit longer than that, but it's extremely inconvenient. Doing laundry, I go out to the laundry room. Getting groceries, shops right around the corner. But on a boat, you have to find a place to moor in a different area all the time, walk to your shops, carry your groceries back. Laundry, you need to find a laundrette and pull up next to essentially a laundromat and pay someone money to do your laundry. What is that? I guess you could stretch it out to once a week or so, but it is a massive inconvenience. There's also, and this doesn't really count as one of the numbered items, but it's a very slow pace when you realize that the maximum speed on the canal system is 4 miles an hour. These very, very low-powered diesel engines, usually under 20 horsepower, are just putting along with a propeller about this big. Giving it the beans means you're going 4 to 6 miles an hour, but most of the time you have the engine on tick over. It's just putting along. So if you want to go from, let's say, London to Birmingham, or Birmingham to Manchester, now in a car, you could be there that afternoon. But a similar trip by narrowboat, taking your home with you, you can plan on 2 weeks, 3 weeks for these journeys. And remember, living that far in the northern latitudes, their days are much shorter, and therefore the travel time that they're allotted is much shorter. So that's just a side bonus of something that works against you, is the very slow pace. Now, for a lot of people, the slow pace is an attraction because it gets you out of the hustle and bustle of living in the city and in all these kind of lives. But the slow pace would wear on me, I'm pretty sure. But the number 5, and perhaps most important reason why I will not be moving onto a narrowboat on the inland waterways of the UK is because I live in Florida. If I want to live on a boat, I'm going to live on a boat in Florida. We have the Okeechobee Waterway. We have the St. Johns River. We have the Kissimmee. If I want to live on a slow-paced canal-style boat, I can do that without leaving the free state of Florida. Yeah, the number 1 reason I will not be moving into a canal boat on the UK's waterways is because I don't live in the UK. I probably should have let off with that, hey? Anyway, I would love to hear your opinions on the idea of living on a boat. I know that there are folks up and down the American East Coast and out on the West Coast who live on boats, and I'd like to hear from some of you folks what your experiences are and what it's like for you and some of the things I might have overlooked. So leave some of that info down in the comments. And most of all, I'm very curious because one thing I don't know is if here in the United States, are there any government fees that are associated? For example, to live on a narrowboat in the United Kingdom, you have to get a license to ply the canals with your narrowboat. And that can cost 800 to 1,000 pounds. a year. And I'm wondering if there's some similar licensing scheme here in the United States to have a boat on the American waters and the waterways. So let me know if you know the answer to that. And yeah, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and I guess that's it. I will see you in the next video.